Hi everyone, welcome to the fifth session of the Art Lounge Talks. Sorry for the technical glitch earlier. I hope that will be fixed now, and I hope you guys had a great winter and December sun didn't take over your lives. So basically today we have yet another very special guest. I can see him finally. We have Usman Riaz, who is an extremely talented person and he does very cool things. So we're going to bring him on board and talk to him about what he's up to these days. Okay, start. Hopefully this will connect now. Okay. Hi Usman.
We got it working. Amazing.
How are you? I'm so happy to have you here on board, and I'm glad this is finally working.
Absolutely. No, thank you for
um,
having me.
no, not at all. So, Usman, all is great. I can hear you, but your video seems to be buffering. For people who can see us, if you could see the video, can you see Usman's video working properly? And can you see my video working properly? So we'll hopefully hear from them.
So I switched
But
over
yeah, I
my
can see.
connection. Is it better now?
Oh yeah, it is. It is. I can see you properly. Awesome.
Perfect.
So Usman, we'll start off with an introduction. I'm sure everybody knows about you anyway, but we'll start with that and then we'll move on to the questions.
Sure
Okay.
thing.
And thank you to everyone who has tuned in. Usman Riaz is an artist, filmmaker, musician, and storyteller who co-founded Mano Animation Studios, Pakistan's first hand-drawn animation studio, in 2015. Their first project, The Glassworker or Shishagar, is being crafted by a team of creatives from Pakistan and Malaysia, with support from production executives in Japan, UK, and the United States. Usman has graced the TED stage multiple times. He was 20 years old when he was first selected for his TED appearance, and since then has taken the stage in India, Edinburgh, Malaysia, and Tokyo. Wow. In 2012, he became the world's youngest senior TED Fellow at just 21 years of age. And he got to perform at TED Global with his idol Preston Reed, which is again so cool. Prior to that, while attending Berklee College of Music, Boston, and Indus Valley School of Art and Architecture, Karachi, Usman, as a self-taught musician, composed a myriad of tracks that display extreme skill and innovation. And around this time, he released his album Circus in the Sky, which was adapted into a musical at Indus Valley titled Punar Jahan. His rendition of Sai for Junoon's 20th anniversary and compositions for Go Studio 7 have been received very warmly. And he was also nominated for a Lux Style Award. And Usman is multi-talented, and his attention to detail, his dedication to his craft, and focus on what he feels strongly about have made him a force to reckon with. Let's ask Usman about his journey thus far, and also to everyone who's watching, you can add, if you have any questions for Usman, you can add them in that little speech bubble with a question mark, that icon at the bottom right, and we'll take them in the end. So yeah, Usman, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So Usman, you seem to have an inclination towards following your heart and not settling for something you don't feel strongly about. Can you tell us more about this, like your journey thus far?
So I get asked this question a lot, and um, the way I always tend to answer it is where someone like me or people like us are lucky enough to be in a position like this where we can pursue our dreams. We have so much support from the people around us, and especially me, I have so much support from my family that it would be wrong to do anything half-heartedly. I tend to approach everything that I'm doing with my heart. I want to do things well, and um, there's no point doing it if you don't put everything into it. So everything that I have done, I've tried to do it with all my heart and
Right.
do it well. So the same thing with music or animation. just to do it
Yeah.
the way it should be done, not settle for what people will say, but striving to achieve what you want to achieve, and then just
Right.
applying yourself
Right.
and putting in the work and just being consistent with it. And I'm
Right.
very, very grateful that I am in a position where I can do these things. And since I am in that position, I will give it my all.
Amazing. So can you tell us a little bit about your early life and how events conspired to bring you where you are today?
Well, I'm
How
very
did you get to
blessed and
music and then animation?
yeah,
Yeah.
no, I'm very blessed and I'm very lucky to have a very supportive family, as I said. And especially in the creative arts. Uh, my grandmother was a musician as well and an artist. Her brother is Zia Muhyiddin, so we grew up around that,
Yeah.
where my
Yeah.
father and his brothers were just in awe of what their uncle was doing, and that inspired them to also pursue the things that they did. My father was an actor as well.
Right.
My cousin Umar
Right.
Riaz is pursuing his passion, which is filmmaking. He worked with Terrence Malick for four and
Mm.
a half years, I think. Terrence Malick is one of the greatest directors of our time. He worked on one of my
Yeah.
favorite films, which is Tree of Life, and he learned a lot from him. Um,
Wow.
there are just so many people who've done so many things. My mother is an artist as well. My mother's sister is an artist. Um,
Wow.
so I grew up around that environment where the creative arts were encouraged, but also because so many people did it, no one was really impressed by what I was doing. Um, so that kind of lit a fire in me to, first of all, just try to
Yeah.
impress my family, which was at a very young age. And it was fun, frustrating, but it it allowed me to look deeper into things and everything that I was doing. Because every time
Mm-hmm.
I'd go to my father and show him something, whether it's music or one of the illustrations that I made, he'd be like, "This isn't right. Go back and fix it." There was no
Oh.
positive reinforcement in that sense, where he would say, "Oh, it's very good. Keep it up." He would never tell me to
Wow.
stop. He would never tell me you're doing this badly. He would just say, "Fix this, fix that,
Mm-hmm.
fix this, fix that." So I'd always walk away frustrated, knowing, I still haven't done it right. This is when I was like um, 10, 11 years old. When I started understanding exactly what I was doing, obviously I would doodle and play music when I was small without any understanding of it. But growing up in that creative environment really honed my creative skills in music and in art, in animation. Animation was always the dream. But even when I was
Mm-hmm.
small, I was like, how will I do it in Pakistan? And as I started getting older, and learning more about Japan and obsessing about Studio Ghibli and the work culture there,
Yeah.
um, I knew from a very early age that the language barrier is intense there, and they
Mm.
are they're not very accepting of foreigners. Japanese people are absolutely amazing, but I knew I'd have a tough time there if I didn't speak the language there as well as they
Right.
did. And so I
Right.
never really dreamt of going to Japan and becoming an animator. It was always about what can
Mm.
I do with the stuff that I have here at home.
Right.
So that always pushed me to keep trying. Again, with music, with art, with animation now. So growing up in
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
environment was looking back on it
That's a
now, it is the reason why I am the way I am now. But growing up, it was very frustrating and very irritating when everyone did so many amazing things at home, and
in
you
your
were
family.
just
Yeah.
somebody trying to contribute and not really impressing anyone.
But perhaps that pushed you towards excellence because
Yes,
when you don't get praise easy, you want to become even better. You push
yes,
yourself in a way. That's
definitely.
amazing. So coming to the glass worker, it's a huge undertaking, and it's Pakistan's
Yeah.
first hand-drawn animation studio, which is Mano Animation Studios. So can you tell us about how this began, and something about your team, and what are your hopes for the glass worker once it's released?
I always always wanted to pursue animation. That was the dream growing up. And I would obsess over the Warner Brothers books that my father would come and show me of Bugs Bunny and his model sheets. My father's a huge fan of animation, Western animation.
Okay.
So I grew up just studying those and looking at those and loving the early films by Disney. And then I discovered Studio Ghibli. I don't remember how exactly I discovered it. I remember just being around either 6 or 7 years old. And one of my relatives, just had Kiki's Delivery Service on VHS. And I watched that and it blew my mind. And I didn't know why it blew my mind. It was so incredible. And I just felt this
Wow.
resonance with that style of animation. And at that time, I didn't know it was Studio Ghibli. I didn't know anything about Hayao Miyazaki, Sao Takahata, Toshio Suzuki. I knew nothing about them. I just knew this I really like. And I want to see more films by these people. And then gradually I started discovering more of their films. I started following their films development. And it was when I saw The Wind Rises in 2013 because they had a very limited release in the West, and I was studying at Berklee College of Music at the time. But as soon as it came out, I booked the first ticket I could to go see it, and I just started crying throughout the film.
Wow.
And I was like, what am I doing with my life? This is what I want to do, and if nobody's going to start it in Pakistan, we might as well be the ones to start it. And then thankfully, because I'm a TED senior fellow, I was at a TED conference in 2015, and one of the attendees from Tokyo were there. And I had this portfolio case, the ones we used to carry around in Indus. I had one of those with all of my drawings in it, just roaming around the TED conference floor, showing every single person from studios there that I want to do hand-drawn animation. Please tell me how. I was a complete idiot about it, but eventually I wound up at one of the TED organizers from Tokyo, and I genuinely got down on my knees and I said, I know your conference is booked. I know that you don't have slots for more speakers. Please just let me come give a talk in Japan. I just know something will happen if I come to Japan. And he looked at me funny and he said, but he knew who I was and he knew that I'd done a lot at TED. So he said, sure, we'll give you a slot. You have 18 minutes. And then I went to Japan and I gave my talk on animation. And I remember, because I was speaking in English and actually all the audience didn't speak English, nobody responded to anything I said. So I thought I blew it completely. And I was backstage. I was very, very upset. And then 2 hours later, somebody came into the green room, the speaker room, and he gave me his card and he said, we'll be seeing you tomorrow. And I looked down and it was someone from Studio Ghibli. And I burst out crying there. And then 2 days later, I was at Ghibli. I burst out crying there. I roamed around. They gave me the guidance for how to start the animation. They said, you can work in Japan. You're skilled enough, but you're not going to be able to make the project that you want to make. So start your own studio and get this done. And I was showing bits of the Glassworker. This was in July 2015. So when we came back, Mariam and I recruited a few people, which is Khizr, one of my cousins whom you know, and Amir Rifat, one of the Indus alumni that I knew, to come on board and get this thing started. And we wanted to do hand-drawn animation properly, the way it should be done. You know, we're not cutting any corners. We're drawing every single frame. I storyboarded the entire film, and everyone's skill sets are contributing to different facets of the studio, for which I'm very, very grateful for. But that's how it all started. And then I went back to Japan when we made a pilot. We did a Kickstarter, raised $116,000 to make that pilot. And then I went back to Japan and showed it to one of the people who I met at Ghibli. And he liked it so much that he came on board as executive producer. His name is Jeffrey Wexler. And it's a huge honor to be working with my heroes and the people who made the films that I love. I'm grateful
Truly.
every day.
Yeah.
What I didn't know is
Yeah.
how difficult it would be. Like you read about how difficult these
I'm
things are,
sure.
and I've watched documentaries, and especially the Studio Ghibli documentaries. I know all of them by heart. I have so many books, but nothing
Mm.
prepares you for how difficult it's
We're
going to be.
actually doing it.
Yeah, so
Wow.
it's the first drawing I ever made for this was in July 2014, and it is
Wow.
January 2022 now. So I've been doing this almost eight
Amazing.
years now. But that's
Yeah.
what we need to do to lay the
That's
foundation,
amazing. Yeah.
train people
Yeah.
properly to do hand-drawn animation, and then contribute to the international, uh, I guess, animation community that's there.
Yeah, and it's also kind of it's a service to Pakistan in the sense that we don't have this at all, and you're sort of taking it on you, and your team is taking it on you to bring something like this to Pakistan. And there's so many fans of Studio Ghibli and anime, etc. So it's such a contribution. So I think everybody should be thanking you for it too, and it's also a labor of love, which is truly amazing. So, can you tell us about a day in your life? Like, what's a typical day in your life when you wake up? What do you guys do at the studio? When you get back home? What do you do at night? Everything.
Sure. First of all, thank you for all the kind words. It really means a lot to me because we just work in isolation all the time, which is new for me because obviously with music and everything else that I was doing, music, you can write so quickly and then just give it to everyone, put it up online,
Yeah,
and then see the reaction.
yeah,
This has been
yeah.
a painstakingly slow process. So that was new for me. And to describe a day in my life, well,
Hmm.
for the last 2.5 years, because when Jeffrey Wexler came on board, we changed the project slightly. But for the last 19 months, I was making the storyboards for the film, and they were being scrutinized and reviewed. And in Japan, the director actually sits and draws every single frame for how they intend the film to be. That's the process that we're following.
Right.
So it was I wanted to make it as good as the stuff that I enjoyed obsessing over, which are the storyboards that I grew up reading, and also I wanted it to have my own flair and style. So it was difficult to find that balance, but eventually I did, and then I completed the film through the storyboards, and now we're just completing the animation. But a day in my life usually is just waking up at 8:15 in the morning, getting
Hmm.
ready and going to work, and then just constantly solving problems, either production issues with our producer Khizr, or animation issues with our animation director Amir Rifat, or art direction decisions that need to be made with Mariam, who is the art director for the film, or
Right.
assisting in
Yeah.
character design with our character designer Sophia Abdullah. I'm an animator as well, so when I do get the
Hmm.
chance, I sit down and make shots as quickly as I can for the film, and then the day ends and I
Hmm.
come home and I sit alone in my room and contemplate on what has happened. Mariam and I have
Yeah.
like a conversation here
Yeah.
and there. We try not to talk about work, and then it's the same thing
Hmm.
all over again.
Same thing
I
here.
lead a very,
Yeah.
very
Wow.
boring life for people who love traveling and doing all sorts of other things. It is just constantly doing the same thing over and
Yeah.
over again.
Same thing
But
again.
one of my
Yeah.
favorite Marvel Comics artists, John Romita Jr., the son of John Romita Sr., he said, if you do something every day for years, you're bound to get good at it. So I've noticed that as well, that my speed has improved,
Sure.
everybody else's skills have improved. So it's fun in that sense, where
I'm sure not good.
you're
I'm sure you guys are excellent at what you do, not just
Thank you.
good.
There's always stuff to learn and improvement,
Hmm.
but obviously because we've been doing this for so long and we have so many amazing people guiding us and mentoring us, we're lucky that we
Right.
are pretty skilled now. Yes.
That's amazing. So the next question, we've actually discussed this a little bit, but you can further elaborate on this. So about your family, as you said, many are from creative backgrounds or have had creative pursuits or still have them. So have they played a role in nurturing your talents directly or indirectly? We've spoken about this, but maybe a line or two, and then yeah.
No, definitely. My family is a very eccentric family. I think they all will agree with me on that, but I'm grateful that they are because then they allow me to do the things that I'm doing. And
Mm,
um, my father is a stickler for details. So
right.
observing that growing up really had, I mean, a subconscious effect on me. I didn't try to internalize those things on purpose. I mean, no child does. But when you see someone
Yeah.
behaving a certain way every day, that becomes a part of you as well. And
Mm,
so I genuinely am able to see into things a bit more, but that's all because of my father, and then all the creative energy that's in the family, like growing up, going to the Zia Mohyuddin readings and watching all the rehearsals, seeing how uh,
yeah.
he did the things that he did. Now, obviously, um, growing up in my family, Urdu adab is a big part of my life as well. So studying the language,
Yes.
people freak out
Yes.
when they hear me speaking in Urdu because um, they don't expect it. But growing up in that, every day, I remember when I was growing up, my grandmother would make me write Urdu constantly, every weekend, and that discipline
Amazing.
also allowed me to apply that discipline to my work because I started to enjoy the routine of everything. So sitting down and practicing was just normal. And then the biggest contribution that my family has had on me is through the just consistency of practice, not just in writing, like I was saying, but even in music, in acting
Right.
and rehearsals. When I saw uh, the ZM readings and the amount of rehearsals that he used to do, that became a part of the normal way to handle things for me. So practice is a
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
part of what I do, that my family has contributed to my personality. Even with music, I would
Right.
practice for hours and hours and hours every day, and just because I would
Mm.
enjoy it. Um, I
Yeah.
would,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
obviously you don't have a social life when you do these things. So I became used to just being alone and enjoying that, and that's what really allowed my imagination to open up, because I would do all these things to entertain myself because don't really like going out. I don't really like wasting my time. I'd rather use
Mm.
my time to do something constructive. I know it's good to have a balanced life, etc. All of those things. I've heard that but from so many people. But I tell them I
Yeah.
actually enjoy this. It's not
That's
that
great.
I'm obsessing over it. It's
Yeah.
actually fun for me. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would tell my friends in school, because so many people, I mean, you were in KGS as well. So many people played music in KGS. I was just one of
Yeah.
them. But
Yeah.
everyone
Yeah.
stopped
Yeah.
and I just kept doing it. And I tell them that. I
Yeah.
mean, any of you could have been on the TED stage that I tell the other guitarists that were in KGS. I grew up playing piano, but obviously connect because everyone played
Mm.
guitar. So you connect with all of the guitarists in school. I told them any of you could have been there if you just kept doing it, because I didn't do anything
Yeah.
different. I just kept doing it
Yeah.
consistently.
Yeah. Right. I do. I mean, we saw this firsthand because we did street beats with you in foundation year at
Yeah.
IBS. And I remember, I mean, it was so exciting. I mean, I don't think any of us would have thought of making music with like just not even household objects like such. I was on the ruler, so I had stationery in hand. But I remember being very impressed because you were just 19 or 20 at that time, and you were dedicated to, and your attention to detail was like out there, and you wanted it to be right on the dot, and it was genuinely a learning experience for all of us. You knew exactly what you wanted, which was amazing, and it turned out to be so much fun. So yeah,
Thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed
it was a
that.
lot of fun. Shaheen saying hi. Hi, Shaheen. So, Usman, you are the youngest senior TED fellow. Wow.
Yes.
And have given numerous talks in numerous countries. which you can tell us which countries. So how did TED happen in the first place? And what role do you think the TED Forum plays in people's lives?
Well, I keep telling my TED mentor Tom Riley this. TED changed my life, um, because I got to be a part of a community of people who, even though they do so many different things, they all think the same way. They all thought the way I do, which I'd never really been a part of before. To just connect
Mm,
with people on that sort of level. Not that I made like a million friends there, I didn't, but that camaraderie and that connection that you are
mm,
part of a group of people who work just as hard as you. It's a very humbling experience because if you think you're special, those people take that away. But then you get that camaraderie as well, that you're not alone, that there are people like you out there who enjoy working so much and want to excel. Uh,
mm,
and that, even though I was the youngest person there, uh, we all connected on a very different level. And the way that happened was, I released Firefly here, and I think
mm.
some actress tweeted it. I think it was Alyssa Milano. She tweeted it, and then the
Ooh.
TED team saw it, and they
Oh.
reached out to me. And I knew what TED was, but I didn't know what the TED Fellows program was. They said, we'd like you to apply to be a TED Fellow. You will come give a TED talk and perform. And I jumped at the opportunity. I was like, yes, I want to be a part of this. So then they interviewed me, and I was selected. I was very, very blessed and lucky. And we went to Edinburgh for TED Global in
Wow.
2012, and I was selected to speak on the main stage. There are two stages. There's the TED Fellows stage,
Uh,
where all the fellows go and give their
okay.
talks. And then there's the TED main stage. And TED wasn't as big then as it is now. TED is huge
Uh-huh.
now, but there was much
Wow.
more intimate. There were, instead of 3,000, 4,000 people attending, I think there were only 1,000, which, yeah, doesn't sound like much of a difference, but it really was,
But then,
because you could talk to everyone and actually show them your work and tell them who you are. So that was amazing. And I got
wow.
selected to perform on the main stage with Preston Reed, the pioneer
Yeah.
of the percussive guitar style. That was
Wow.
very, very cool. And I
How did
remember
that happen?
uh, Bruno, I'm forgetting how to pronounce his last name, but Bruno Giciani, I think. I've butchered his last name, apologies. Uh, he said, wouldn't it be cool if you perform, you're a new age percussive guitarist, wouldn't it be cool if you performed with the man who pioneered this style? There's Michael Hedges and Preston Reed. And I was like, "Oh, amazing, sure. I'd love to
Mm.
do that." And I remember
Wow.
something very funny, which was I didn't feel nervous for a second. I think I waited so long for something like this to happen that I just seized the opportunity, and I felt completely at home on that stage,
Wow.
speaking and performing. Preston Reed gave me one of his pieces to play. I learned it in 2 days. And
Wow.
uh, then we had a rehearsal with him in Edinburgh. We were supposed to rehearse on the main stage, but we did a rehearsal in the hotel room. And I knew it inside out because I've been hearing his music for so long. So once I figured out how to play it, we were off to the races. And he knew that. So he said, we don't need to rehearse. You're ready. Just fix this one part that you play. I fixed that. We went up
Mm.
on stage, we played it. And then I was ecstatic because it went absolutely perfectly. And then Chris Anderson came on stage and threw a curveball and said, play something else, improvise something. And if it
Oh,
goes horribly wrong, we'll edit it out. And that's part of the talk that's online. And that's when I started
yeah.
freaking out, going, why would you do
Oh
this?
my God.
It went perfectly. I don't want to ruin this. And then we played some piece, and whatever it was, it worked. So I was just happy to get off that stage without making a fool of myself. But
Wow. Yeah.
that was
But
amazing. It was an amazing, amazing experience. I think
I'm
I,
sure.
I so heavily diverged from the question you asked. What was the
No, not at
question?
all.
All
We were
right.
going to talk about this later anyway, so
Yeah.
that's okay. No, I love it. I love it. Because I think everybody, and I'm reading the comments, everybody really wanted to know these things, and I
Hmm.
think it's great that you're telling them, and
Yeah.
we're getting to know the ins and outs and what exactly happened and how these things, panned out. So Usman, can you tell us about your artistic education and whether you think actually, my questions usually have two or three parts. But so, A, about your artistic education. B, do you think a creative education is important to be a successful creative? And C, do you think it's important to have mentors?
Now the
I can.
creativity part and the creative education. See, I would like to say it's not important. It's about the passion that you
Mhm.
have, but we went through the creative education system. So we went to Indus Valley. We learned
Yeah.
from creative people. So we had that creative education. So I don't know. I can only speak from my experience, which is
Mhm.
um, even if you do get a creative education, it still
Mhm.
depends on how much passion you have for what you're pursuing. See, for me, Indus was a wonderful experience, but also it was a horrible experience because I didn't get to learn the things I wanted to learn. I was just being taught a
Right.
bunch of things to be able to contribute to the larger creative industry, but like graphic design, for instance. So I decided that I'll take courses and things that will help me in the things I want to do eventually. So I took
Right.
the illustration courses. We did all of the fine art stuff, but I grew up drawing since I
Yeah.
was small, so I don't know how much that really helped me in the long
Right.
run, how much that made me improve because I was doing that anyway. But I picked certain things and got certain things out of that Indus Valley experience that I knew would help me. Like this one of the storyboarding classes, for example, that was tremendously inspiring because I got to see how the TV commercials and other things are made. Yeah, I wanted to
Yeah.
really study filmmaking and how it would apply to the filmmaking side, but I still got bits of knowledge out of it, which helped. Photoshop was the biggest thing that we learned there that was
Yeah.
tremendously helpful. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I guess the main thing that school taught me was just having a critical eye, and also I realized at a certain point in school that teachers just have to point out flaws because that's their job. It could still be fine.
Yeah.
And I was only at Indus for 2 years. So
Mm.
when I went to Berkeley and I wrote Blue Moon Waltz, and the president of Berkeley said, "We're going to have this recorded with the orchestra. We love this piece. So, yeah, come in for rehearsals, Usman, you'll be conducting." I took that piece to one of my composition
Wow.
teachers and I said, "What do you think? We're going to be playing this." And he hated it. He said, "What is this? You're repeating all of these motifs. You're doing all you're breaking all these rules here and following all these rules here." And I was very confused by that because I said, "But I like how it sounds." And he didn't have an answer for that. And then we played the piece and I
Yeah.
loved how it sounded, and the results speak for themselves. The teachers, I get that they're there to mentor you. This is a roundabout way to answer the mentorship question. I get that they're
Right.
there to mentor you, but you also have to stay true to yourself. And if you like something and if you think it's going to work, then you should
Mhm.
see it through to the end, because if you truly believe in it,
Absolutely. Yeah.
it is going to work. But I've had a bunch of
Yeah.
mentors who've also just really, really helped me expand and understand myself better. So to answer the question, it is important to have mentors, but it's also
Mm.
important to believe in yourself. Like my mentor at TED is one of my heroes. My father is one of my biggest mentors. Jeffrey Wexler from Studio Ghibli is one of my mentors, and a producer who I can't talk about
Mm.
right now. Once we announce his
Mhm.
involvement, I'll be able to talk about him as well. He's been a huge mentor. But he also told me that I wouldn't have mentored you or come on board if you didn't believe in the work that you were doing, if you were constantly, because I I want to learn and I want to grow, but there's some things I really believe in as well. And
Right.
I think it's important to have that. So a creative education, it's good to have it. I don't think it's necessary to excel, because there are countless examples of people who've had no creative education or artistic, formal artistic education, whether it's art or music, and have excelled. It just depends on you. But I will say you need to know the
Absolutely.
rules before you can break them.
That makes sense.
Hmm.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think that's a good. Also in the art world, a lot of people, the last line you said makes a lot of sense in the art world as well, because a lot of people say, oh, this line on this blank canvas, anyone could have done that. My
Yeah,
younger cousin could have done that, or my brother could have done that. But the fact is, when people are making stuff like that, they know the rules and then they're breaking them. So then it's coming from a different place
yeah,
altogether. It's more informed and there's meaning
exactly.
behind it. So that makes sense. Yeah. So, Usman, what drives
Definitely.
you to do the work that you do, whether it's music or whether it's animation? What drives you?
What drives me is that I don't know what else to do with myself. That is the actual honest answer.
The honest truth.
I It's the honest truth, because I know what I can do, and I know that if I put all my effort into it, I know I'll be good at it. Uh, the other things in life, I am not very good at. So my way of
Right.
connecting with everybody, I feel more comfortable on stage presenting my work. I feel more comfortable performing, for an audience. I just feel like that's where I'm supposed to be. And that same
Right.
stage is at work as well. It's all
Mm.
everything's a stage. You're there solving problems. People are coming to you asking for answers, what to do here, and you have to figure out everything. And that's the exact same feeling on stage as well, where um, it's 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 a strange way of connecting with people. And I think that's how I connect with everyone, which is my
Mm.
work. And I enjoy making something good. I enjoy putting in
Right.
the effort and the attention to detail and working with talented people. Because the other thing is, I enjoy being in a creative environment with talented people. Because if you're in a creative environment with talented people who are better than you at certain things, you're going to pick up all of
Mm-hmm.
their skills, and hopefully
Yeah.
they'll pick up some of yours as well. But that
Yeah.
amalgamation of everyone's creativity to create something amazing, that for me is the most fun in the world. And I love being in pressure situations where you just have
Oh.
to figure something out. Everything is on the line. You have to figure it out. How is it going to be done? And then you come up with that answer and it all works. And I live for
Wow.
those moments where it
That's
just
so
it
cool.
has to happen. That's the same thing that happened on the TED stage, where um,
Mm. When
we just had to
when you were
deliver.
asked to play something last minute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was dying inside, but then I found that feeling that, no, this is what you've always wanted. Now go do it. And that calmed me down and
Wow.
I was fine. So I just
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel very at peace when things are very
Mm.
getting very difficult and very tense, and there's a lot of pressure, because then all the
Wow.
noise goes away and you can focus and do
Right.
what you have to do.
Right. That's amazing. So it's not we've spoken about the next question a little bit too. So it's up to you, but we'd love to hear a little more if you have
Sure.
any stuff to add. So you've met your heroes from the world of music and animation, and even performed with one of them. Can you tell us about these experiences?
Yes.
Maybe, yeah. Go on.
So obviously the first uh, person I met at the TED conferences was Preston Reed, and I had
Yeah.
grown up listening to his music, and he is such an inspiration. he was absolutely incredible. But the common trend amongst all my heroes that I've met, which really astounded me, was how humble they are.
Okay.
Like they're not egotistical in the slightest. When I met Steven Spielberg at TED
Wow. Yeah.
2016, that was insane. Um, and he was talking to me like I was a peer, which I didn't expect because I thought he would treat me like another fan who's come and he was
Yeah.
just spewing their love for his work. But I mean, everybody loves Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg is has contributed more to modern cinema than anybody else has, and we owe him a great deal. So I was just telling him all of this, and he said, "I want to see your work. I want to see your
Wow.
animation that I just saw on the stage. Show it to me." So I pulled out my iPad, and then my mentor, Tom Riley, he gave his iPhone to someone and said, "Go and take pictures." So that's how we got the pictures, because he knew it was a special moment for me, and I'm so glad he did that because nobody would have believed me otherwise that Steven Spielberg and I had a conversation. But
So
so I
cool.
met him. He was he
Wow.
was incredible, and the one person who was exactly the way he is in the documentaries and what you read about is Hayao Miyazaki. That man,
Really?
you do not want to cross that man. He was very angry that day. I went to Ghibli in 2015 in July
Hmm.
when everything was supposed to be shut because after The Wind Rises, Miyazaki said, "That's it, I'm done, I'm not making anything." But you always hear rumors that he's working on something. And when I went,
Hmm.
he was working on, at the time I didn't know, but Borrow the Caterpillar, which is a short film he was making for the Ghibli Museum. And
Okay.
when we walked in, it was a skeleton crew. There were about 12 people there. He was he was just so angry. He was yelling at someone. So we just ducked and we went upstairs and saw everything. But
Hmm. Yeah.
he was exactly the way he is depicted everywhere else. And he's exactly the way he doodles himself. He makes these comics of himself just hating everything and being very grumpy.
Hating everything.
Yeah, yeah. So he was exactly like
Wow.
that.
What was the
The
studio like, Usman?
the studio was exactly the way I imagined it. I mean, I've
Right.
seen pictures of it in books, I've watched it in documentaries, but when you walk in, usually things
Hmm.
appear a little different. No, it was exactly like that. It's just a small, humble three-story building.
Hmm.
Obviously, they have different other buildings on that same street, but the main building that you see pictures of everywhere, where Miyazaki works, that was exactly the way
Yeah.
you see it depicted. There's nothing flashy about it. It was just about the work, the animation being done, and everyone's desks were lined up, all the animation desks, and then they had a few floors for the other offices, and it was amazing, and I loved it because
Wow.
that's what
Yeah.
it should be about. It should be about making amazing work, and just having a comfortable work environment to make their amazing work. And Miyazaki
Yeah.
is a once in a generation genius. No, there's going to be nobody like him after he goes, which I hope
Hmm.
is very, very far away. Because I
Yeah.
want to keep seeing the films that he makes because they inspire people like me to want to do it as well. So the
Yeah.
studio was
Yeah.
a dream come true, and I took a lot of
Okay.
pictures in secret.
Yeah. I'm sure.
They said, "Please don't take any pictures." I said, "Sure." And I put my
Oh.
phone in my pocket and I just kept walking around. And I had a Apple Watch at the time, so I just kept hitting the button
Smart.
to constantly take pictures. I didn't know what I was photographing at the time. I just took maybe 500 and then selected the best ones. So I have them there. But I know if I post them, they'll get mad. So they're there in
Oh, now
secret.
you've given us tips on how to secretly take pictures. Get an Apple Watch and then use that
Oh God.
tips.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Usman. So now coming to Pakistani greats, how was it to work with people like Salman Ahmed from Junoon and for firms like Coke Studio? Can you tell us more about that?
Salman Ahmed is absolutely amazing. He is also once in a generation genius. Junoon's music is, I think, some of the best music Pakistan has ever produced. So obviously playing with him was a lot of fun, because in terms of the musicality of everything, I understood his style, so I knew how to change mine to fit his to support him. Because whenever we've played, it's
Yeah.
been me supporting him. So I don't
Uh,
want to do anything flashy. I want to just support the main act, which is Salman Ahmed. And I'm just there on stage playing with him. And if he gives me just a small minute and a half to play something, yeah, I'll play something interesting there. But I want to support them and play chords and things in the modes that he's playing in to support him. He was wonderful there, but he gave me complete freedom to write Sai the way I wanted. He was insisting that I do Sayoni, which is another great Junoon
oh,
song, but I said I have
yeah.
a really strong idea for what I want to do with Sai for the 25th anniversary. Please let me do it. He said, sure,
Mm.
go crazy with it. So I gave it this kind of Middle Eastern flair, and I knew that I didn't want any singing in it because no one can sing like Ali Azmat, and I don't want anyone to try either. The best substitution to have that melody would obviously be the violin. So I wrote the violin part for it, and then we played it, and I was very happy with the piece, and I think he liked it too. I don't know if Ali Azmat likes it. I don't think he likes anything, but I know Salman Ahmed liked it. And another thing about Salman Ahmed, he's my father's cousin. So another person
Oh,
who is in the
oh,
family,
wow.
yeah.
So many
So
greats in one family. How cool.
I'm very
Um,
grateful for that. But yeah, that it made it really tough growing up, but it ultimately led to all of this. So I'm grateful.
but Usman, you mentioned the violin. How many instruments can you play?
So I can't play the violin. I tried
Okay.
desperately. When I was small, I had the
Mm,
choice between learning the piano and the violin.
mm.
And my teacher insisted that I pick up the piano because I was interested in writing music. I was 5 years old. I didn't know what I was saying. But I said, oh, I want to write music. And he said,
Oh,
then
wow.
play the
Since you were a
piano.
kid.
So I
Right.
learned classical piano with him. My brilliant teacher who taught me music theory and um, how
Mm.
to read and write music. That laid the foundation for then everything I learned later at Berkeley. But I still wish I could go back in time and learn the violin instead because that is my favorite instrument in the
Oh.
world. But I know how to write for violin. So, and writing for violin is pretty technical, but thankfully I know how to write for it. So I wrote the part for it. I can't play it.
Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow, Usman. But you, I mean, knowing the thing is, you have the kind of dedication where you can totally get to the violin once you're done with the Glassworker if you want to. I mean, it's never too late, I suppose.
Yeah, it's
And
never
and
too
and you
late.
also, yeah. Um, no, I
Sorry, you
was
were
just gonna
saying.
say, did you also have so did you have did you I read somewhere, I believe that you learned the guitar on your own, right?
Hmm.
Or did you have a teacher for the guitar?
No.
Guitar you learned on your own, but
Yes.
piano you had a teacher.
For
Okay.
piano, for classical piano,
Mm.
I had my formal training from the age of 5 or 6 till around
Hmm.
18. And guitar I picked up in the middle. And the first thing I did was I tried to play the guitar like the piano because I thought that would be really
Oh,
interesting. Um, and then I saw the YouTube came out around the same time. I think 2006 is when people really started uploading things to YouTube,
yeah,
music
yeah.
pieces and other things. So that was a very inspiring and exciting time because I got to discover all these new ways of playing. And that's where the percussive style, I saw people doing it on YouTube and then added my own spin to it. But uh, guitar was self-taught.
Okay.
Piano was formal training.
Okay. Right.
Formally trained in piano.
Formally trained.
Hmm.
Okay, so I'm sure a lot of people want to know this, and I saw some related comments in the comments here. So your Instagram stories are hilarious.
Oh, thank you.
People compare you with Spider-Man or Andrew Garfield, and your responses are quite entertaining. So what does social media mean to you with regards to your career and in general too?
So I know social media is now growing at such an exponential rate, and people are getting so lost in it. But if you just dial the clock back to 10 years ago, what Twitter was, Instagram wasn't even like a huge thing back then, and Facebook,
Yeah.
social media really, and obviously YouTube. YouTube was really coming into its own in 2010 and becoming this huge force to be reckoned with. YouTube especially, and the other social media platforms allowed me to share the work that I was doing. And I wouldn't have been selected for TED if these platforms didn't exist. I wouldn't have been able to go to the conference and go to the conference that changed my life. If it weren't for social media, I wouldn't have been able to then do the Kickstarter that we did to raise the money to show people here and our investors who are investing in the Glassworker that this is possible. Animation can be done. Look at how much money that we were able to raise, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
All of these things are because of social media, and because we have just access to so much knowledge and resources on the internet. So I don't know what I would have done without it. So I'm heavily indebted to social media, and I'm painfully aware of that. And my Instagram stories are just, they're nonsense, and I have no idea why people enjoy them, but because they enjoy them, I'm starting to enjoy them, and I then just write more. It means absolutely nothing. But
They're amazing. I enjoy them so much. I'm so weird. Like I swear. I mean, I feel like it'll get awkward if I respond to every story. That's why I really hold back and I just respond to one or two. And I'm sure that's how everybody else feels too. But they're very entertaining.
Oh, thank you. That I'm grateful for that, because it again allows me to connect with this amazing community that supports the work that we're doing. So I'm very grateful for it.
True.
I mean, yes, it has its negative side to it as well, but everything has that. The positives far outweigh the negatives in my mind, and I think it's something amazing. I can see my friend Umar Juma writing just a lot of nonsense in this. So it's, hi Umar, how are you? Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. Awesome. Usman, which qualities do you think you have that make you successful?
I mean, I'll sound extremely arrogant while answering this question. But
That's
first
fine.
of all, like I'm very grateful to God that I've been able to do the things that I have done. And I know that some of the things that I have done, because I was the first to do them, that it'll be difficult to catch, and they'll only become more important as time progresses. But I think the main thing is that I just love doing what I do. I mean, that's the most honest answer I can give. And I'm grateful that I've been saying this throughout this Instagram live, but I'm grateful that I have a group of people in my family who support and let me do these things. Because there's so many instances of people from Pakistan not being able to pursue the things they want to pursue because of family pressure and other things. So I'm very blessed in that aspect that I can do it, and I'm blessed in the fact that I'm decent at what I do, so that I'm not making a fool of myself with my family support. So I hope I can keep doing this and keep doing things well.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
And we're all there to root for you, Usman.
I'm honored. Thank you.
So, Usman, if you weren't an animator and musician, which career do you think you would have pursued?
You know, I was looking at this question even when you sent it, and I didn't have an answer then, and I don't think I have one now. Einstein said that if he wasn't a scientist or astrophysicist, whatever he was. I mean, he said he'd be a musician because he thinks in music and he sees the world in music, is what he said. So when I read that, I was
I
like,
did
but
not
does
know
that
that.
mean I would be a scientist if I wasn't a
Scientist.
musician? So maybe that I can use that as an excuse for an answer because I don't know what I would do. I love what I'm doing
Okay.
and I want to do it well consistently.
Hmm. And you're already doing more than one thing, you know. Already animation and music are two
Yeah.
quite different forms of expression. So you're already doing that. Um, Coming to COVID-19, which since the last almost 2 years now has taken over our lives, or more than that, has COVID-19 played a role or affected your work in any way?
Oh, it's affected it tremendously. I mean, the
Mm.
one solace that I think we all can take is that everyone's having this as a shared experience, that it's not just you and the experience that you're having in isolation. The whole world is trying to figure out how to work around this. It's affected it a lot. I think in March 2020, when everything shut down, we didn't go to the studio for a whole month, and we were just figuring out how to navigate this pandemic. And we had such a
Mm.
little understanding of what it was back then, um, compared to what we have now, which is a much
No,
more
yeah.
thorough understanding of how to handle it. And now we have the vaccines and everything else that's there. So we have just a better way of dealing with it. Before, we had no clue. So we were just trying to navigate the waters and figure out and not drown in the process. I'm grateful that we could still continue working, but it
Yeah,
has,
exactly.
I mean, it hasn't gone away. You have to still be careful. You have to maintain social distancing, wear your mask, get vaccinated, all of those things just to keep the others around you safe as well.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
hard, but we're I think all getting used to it now. So work is continuing, but
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it affected our work just like it affected everyone
Yeah,
else.
absolutely. Okay, so Usman, do you think that talent and hard work are enough to be successful in one's career, or is it also important to build relationships with people or with organizations?
Um, when I was younger, I would have said that it's just talent and passion that you need to be successful. But now,
Mm.
after having seen a lot of the world through, thankfully again, all of the traveling that I've done through TED and going to places that one normally wouldn't get to go to, just by virtue of being part of that community. Now I think that it's important to work hard, but also build relationships because those relationships will be very useful for the things you want to do down the line. And I would
Mm.
always feel um, like I'm doing something wrong, that I'm building relationships with these people just so I can get something out of them. But that's the way the world works, and then you
Yeah,
discover that you can be friends with them as well, in these people in these organizations, and everyone who's mentoring me. But I think both are very important. But then again, it also depends on the kind of success you want. If you want to be an indie artist streaming your music on Spotify, you don't need anyone, and you
yeah,
have
true.
access to all your audience right there through YouTube. Content creators don't need anybody to make the things that they want. So again, the answer would be depends on what kind of success you want, because you can be successful on your own as well. I just think that
Right.
for the things I want to do, building relationships and working with people is very important. I wouldn't have said that 10 years ago because I was adamant that I'll do everything alone.
Right. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I'm just responding to people. Everyone who's asking about questions, we just have a few more to go, and then we're going to be taking all of your questions. We have quite a few actually in
Sure.
the question box, which is awesome. Um, so, um, Usman, what would you say to people? Often they see, I don't want to generalize, but a lot of people, and maybe even adults or parents or whatever, what would you say to people who don't consider creative pursuits to be important or to be valuable careers?
What do I say to people who think creative pursuits aren't valuable careers?
Yeah.
Uh, I would say, see, there's nothing you can say to them that'll change their mind. So I wouldn't say anything. However, what I would think is um, you need these fields so that human beings get a chance to self-reflect. I mean, the only way you can look inward and feel empathy is unless you're either going out into the fields and helping people, uh, or you go and watch an incredible film and you feel for the characters and you get um, your heart is affected by the music and you see a character's journey and you empathize with them and then you walk out a changed person, and hopefully if the film story is good and it has good messaging, you walk out a better person and go
Yeah.
and contribute to society in a better way. um, Having seen, and people need an ideal to strive towards, and movies and entertainment, if they're good, they give you that. Like, I'm not talking about the garbage that also comes with it, because there's a lot of junk.
Yeah.
So I mean, people will use that argument when they say, but it's not a pursuit, an endeavor worth pursuing, because look at all this garbage that comes out. So, they are right there, but there's so much good content that also comes out.
Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
films, great pieces of music, great art that move you and allow you to self-reflect, and I think that's very important. Um, it's an extremely pretentious answer, but it's the truth.
No, it's
Uh,
not.
and also, see, for me, it's the craft side of it as well. I don't see myself as an artist as much as I see myself as a craftsman. I love getting
Right.
into the work, understanding how it's done, building things, making things. You need those things for creative people like us who uh, are drawn to these sorts of things. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so that's my personal view on it, and I
Right.
have so much fun, so
Yeah.
it makes it worth it.
That's what's so important in
Hmm.
whatever you do. I think it's also a luxury to have fun what you do, but it's also so important to keep you
Yeah,
going, especially when you're doing something laborious.
yeah.
So Usman, do you believe that Pakistan is a thriving creative community? And are people, institutions, organizations, and the government doing enough to cultivate this?
In Pakistan specifically,
Yeah, I'm asking about Pakistan
yeah.
specifically. Yeah.
I don't think they are, but I think there's so many other problems in the country right now that need their resources and time, that I wouldn't be angry if they didn't support it as much. I mean, this is a tricky
Mm.
subject because my uncle, he's one of the co-founders of the Citizens Foundation, TCF. So I've seen the the very, very unglamorous side of things here. Not that
Right.
there is a glamorous side of things here, but I've seen the the places that people are living, and their one hope is that if they can get an education, they can get out of
Yeah.
here and
Yeah.
contribute to the larger society and just live a better life. So
Mm.
I don't know.
Oh.
I think that there will be a time once I think the country's more educated where we can focus on these things a bit more on an official level. But I don't think it's my place to say whether the government is doing enough or not, because I don't know what they have to deal with. I've just seen the
Right.
extremely difficult side of things and I empathize with it and I hope it can get
Mm.
better. But that's not to say that I don't think there isn't room for it to exist. like what we're doing with mono animation studios is at least the people who can come in and are talented and are creative, they can come in and pursue their passion. And
Yeah.
that's the one thing that I said even as part of my TED talk in Kyoto, which is um, if you are in a position to help people to come and do the work that they want to do, if you're in a position to help those people, then it's your responsibility to do so. Like, because I'm fortunate enough to be able to pursue these things, I want to also bring the people who wouldn't have been able to do it on board as well, so that they can take part in this big dream, which is making hand-drawn animation. And then slowly,
Yeah.
as it grows, as other people start doing it, a lot of other studios have popped up who want to try hand-drawn animation, and they're doing a
Really?
very good job.
That's amazing.
And the CG work that is being done, pioneered by Sharmeen Obed Chinoy, who's also a TED Senior Fellow and has guided
Yeah,
me in
yeah.
the past as well. I'm very grateful for that. Her work with Teen Bahadur, uh, the Third World Studios and their film Allah Yar and the Legend of Markhor. So much good work is happening because people want to pursue it. I think it's our
Right.
responsibility to take it forward. And then
Right.
eventually, when we have a thriving industry, then we'll see
Hmm.
how the government can support it more and make it more than what it is.
Makes sense. That makes sense as well. Um, let's move on to the final segment, which is the rapid fire.
Sure.
Not a very original segment, but also it's just fun. So, so Osman, these are just quick, short answers. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Start. Who is your favorite actor or actress and movie?
My favorite actor, it's a tough question. I won't be able to answer that, but I'll answer favorite movie. My favorite movie is The Wind Rises by Hayao Miyazaki's Studio Ghibli. If I had to pick one, that's my
Okay.
favorite movie.
Okay. If you were on a desert island, name one person and two things you would like to take with you.
If I was on a desert island, I would be very grateful if Mariam, my wife, was there with me. And the two things I
Absolutely.
would take with me are my insulin because I am diabetic. So I'll be able to live
Right.
when I'm on that island. If
Yeah.
I don't have my insulin, I will die. So those are
Oh
the
my.
two things I take with me, the two separate kinds of
Okay.
insulin that I take.
Okay. Okay. That's a good practical answer.
Yes.
um, one person, dead or alive, you'd like to take for dinner.
One person who I would like to take for dinner, I would go with Isao Takahata, who passed away a few years ago. He's one of my favorite directors at Studio Ghibli. It would be amazing to go
Okay.
out for a meal with him. Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. So, is there any funny or embarrassing situation you'd like to share that happened with you?
Now, that's a funny question because why would I share that? No.
If you like, you
Hmm,
can also skip it. You can also skip the question, but just for fun.
no, I can think of something. Funny or embarrassing situation. Uh, no, I can't share it.
No?
I'm good. I'm
Okay,
good. We'll move
fine,
on to the
fine,
next
fine.
one.
No problem. uh, what time of the day are you most creative?
Um, so for me, actually, I've had to kill that side where I'm creative at a certain time because when you're working at the studio and you just have to come up with something because there's a deadline,
Mhm.
all inspiration and walks along the
Mm,
beautiful vistas to get inspiration are gone. You have to sit there and come up with something. And I find that
right.
when I have to come up with something, I usually am the most inspired. So there's no time as such. It's
Mm,
when the pressure is so intense that that's when you really dig deep and find something. Like if it's a shot I'm animating, or when I was storyboarding, the shots I had to draw or the sequences I had to come up with, when your deadline is approaching and you have to make 10 shots in that day,
yeah.
you have to dig deep and find it. So I guess, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
pressure-filled situations are when I
Pressure
am
filled
my most
situation.
creative.
That's cool. Um, Advice you'd give your younger self?
Advice I'd give my younger self. Don't worry so much about
Mm.
whether what you're going to do um, will be successful. Just put your heart and soul into it. Because when I was younger, I really would work extra hard to not fail. Um,
Mm.
because that was my biggest fear that I'm going to fail. So I have to work harder than
Okay.
anyone. I have to put in more effort than anyone because when I was younger, I also didn't think I was that good. Not that I think I'm good now, that sounded arrogant, but when I was younger, I would it, I would work harder because I thought I had to. And I wouldn't tell him to not work hard, but I tell him just calm down and stop worrying. That
Right, right. That's a good one. What scares you?
what scares me, being in the ocean. The ocean freaks
Oh,
me out. I do
wow.
not like the idea of being in open water, um,
Mm.
with nothing around me and uh, just giant fish swimming underneath me. I mean, that is one of my
Yeah.
biggest fears. But the other
Wow.
thing that scares me is moths and butterflies, funnily enough.
Oh,
I think this is some
that is
phobia
surprising.
I,
That's adorable.
yeah,
Surprising.
I am genuinely terrified of them.
Wow. People usually say spiders, so I haven't heard butterflies before. Um, okay, a piece of work, composition, or project that you're most proud of?
I'm most proud of the work we're doing at Mano, but because that isn't
Mm.
finished and complete, I would say my storyboards are what I'm most proud of. But again, no one can see those. So the one thing that, aside from all of this, that I'm most proud of is Blue Moon Waltz, because
Mm.
that was one of my dreams since I was small, to conduct one of my own
Really?
compositions, uh, not go up and conduct one of the pieces from classical repertoire, but my own pieces, and not for a film or anything like that, just for myself. And I'm very, very lucky and
Wow.
very blessed that I got to do that.
Amazing, Usman.
Thank you.
Um, what do you think is the most special thing about Pakistan?
Most special thing about Pakistan is it's my home. It's our home, so obviously I'm very attached to it. I don't want to live abroad.
Mm.
I want to live here and contribute in any way that I can to making
Mm.
it a better place. But the most amazing thing about Pakistan is Pakistanis and Jugaad. That one thing that we do here that I haven't seen
I
anywhere else in the
know.
world. How we figure out solutions to problems in the sometimes laziest but extremely clever ways. uh, I've never
That's
seen
true.
anything like that, and it astounds me and inspires me. That's the one thing about
Yeah.
our resilience or hamara jugaad.
Yeah. And I think Jugaad doesn't even have an English equivalent in the sense that I tried explaining this term to my friends from the UK, but I just couldn't explain it.
Yeah,
There isn't one word that sort of fits the bill.
no.
But it's so true. You're absolutely right. Usman, a dream of yours.
A dream of mine is to finish the Glassworker,
Makes sense,
which
of course.
that is what I think about. That is what I dream about. The one day when I finish this, my life is going to change because I've been doing this for so long. For
So
me,
long. Yeah.
obviously, people have like there's a director, Isata Kahata, who I mentioned, who made the Tale of Princess Kaguya in 10 years. But for me, it's been 8 years since I made the first drawing. Like I
Wow.
don't know
Yeah.
what it's like to live without it. So I dream about the day
Wow.
where I can live without it and just view it as an experience that I had and make the next thing. But that is my current
Wow.
dream.
Wow. Current dream.
Yes.
And Usman, what makes you, this is the final question from my questions.
Sure.
What makes you truly happy? What makes you truly happy?
What makes me truly happy? Now, aside from being with family and all of that stuff, me, the person, what makes me truly happy is being in those pressure-filled situations and delivering. I don't know, it's just the best feeling in the world for me.
That's
That you
amazing.
have to come up with something and you did
Yeah.
and it worked. And then the
Wow.
only thing I want after that is to be in that situation again and do it again.
Wow.
I love that.
Yeah. And
That makes me
how
truly
amazing
happy.
that your answer is related to your work.
Yeah.
That's such a blessing.
Like I said, I have a very boring life in that sense, but for
No,
me, it's the most exciting and fun thing in the world.
that's amazing. And that's a
Thank you.
blessing for us.
Yes. Thank you.
So, Usman, there are quite a number of questions.
Mm-hmm.
Are you able to see the questions for yourself? Are you? Otherwise, I'm gonna.
Uh,
I can. So, do you have this little box
yeah, I
with
can
the
see them.
speech bubble with the question mark? Can you see the questions?
Yes, yes.
The reason I'm asking is because I wonder if we have enough time to go through all of them, but we can if you wish. Otherwise, you
Sure.
can kind of select the ones that you would like to answer. So
Well,
should we
selecting
go
them would
about it
mean
that
we
way?
have to read all of them. Let's just rapid fire answer all of them. They're not that many. I've seen that.
Okay, let's do that. Let's do that. So
There are
should I
quite
just
a
read them
few.
out
Yeah,
for
sure.
you?
Let's just do that.
Okay. So, where should I start? Okay, let's start with the last one, which is HNS underscore Afsar says, your thoughts on the short film Shere Tabassum.
So, like I said, there are a
Do
lot
you,
of people who are doing animation now, hand-drawn animation, and Arafat, uh, I is a friend of mine, and I think they're doing great work, and I'm very, very proud of them. Their animation and the work they're doing is very different from what I'm trying to achieve, which is very classical animation. They are doing actually very much like what the French do with their animation, which is an incredible avant-garde, very stylistic and exciting animation. So I'm very happy that they exist, and I'm very happy that they're making the work that they're making, and I can't wait to see what else they do. Sherit Tabassum is great. Swipe has won so many awards. I mean, they're doing brilliant work.
amazing. Um, so I don't know how to pronounce these names, but I'll just read them out. So Haxlel says, what's the price for striving for greatness at something?
The price for striving for greatness is you have to give up everything else.
Hmm.
And I am okay with that, and I want to strive for greatness because so many people tell me you only have one life, you should enjoy it. I tell them I am enjoying it. This is what I want to do
No.
because we're all going
Yeah.
to die and go to God. So let me strive for what I want to do, and I'll pray in the middle and go back. And the other thing is my work, getting a bit philosophical and spiritual here. My work is my direct connection to God as well, because whenever things go well, I thank God. Whenever things are difficult, I ask God for help. So I love this, and it
That's
only strengthens my faith and my understanding of what I am in the world. So that is the price you have to pay, which is giving up the things you want the most to excel at one thing.
yeah. Amazing, Usman. Um, okay, so Suno Animation asks, how can one stay so persistent knowing animation is hard stuff?
Everything is hard if you want to do it well, and that's that's just the nature of it. And if you're not persistent, you won't improve. And
Yeah,
again, if you're not persistent, you won't improve, and then you'll get discouraged. So just by being persistent, by not giving up, and just keep trying every day, and you'll see gradually that you'll improve.
right. Um, okay, Wasim PP says, tell us about the relation of money and passion.
So I quote this Walt Disney quote a lot. Walt Disney said, "We don't make movies to make money. We make money to make more movies." So money is an integral part of all of this. Because if there's no money, you can't fund your creative endeavors. Um, Money is important. I forgot the question. What was it?
Okay, let me just go back to it. Wait, I'll have to scroll down. Wasim asks, tell us about the relation
Yeah,
of money and passion.
yeah.
Yeah.
So money again contributes to your passions. Unless your passions
Mm,
are like yoga, then you, I guess, don't need money. You can pursue
mm,
your yoga, but I'm talking about like creative endeavors. If that's your passion, you will need money to fund the various things that you're doing. If your passion is
right.
filming, you'll need money to get your equipment. You'll need something to edit on. I'm only speaking again from my experiences. Money is important. You need
Yeah,
money. So work hard so you
yeah.
can earn money to pursue your passion. And in the beginning, it will be tough, like it is for, say, what I was doing, which is hand-on animation. I had to get people on the internet to fund this thing so that I could show other people
Yeah,
that, this is a possibility. But I think it
exactly.
made me work hard, and I got to prove that it is an endeavor worth pursuing so that,
Mm,
the investors who
mm.
did come on board on the Glassworker saw that we're willing to really get our hands in the work and get it done. So money
Makes
and
sense.
passion are intrinsically linked.
Yeah. And this one, Amy Shahid asks, how to get started with digital art.
I started drawing, I mean, I drew on paper till 5 years ago. So
Mm,
for me, the iPad was my first foray into drawing digitally. And that's the thing closest to paper, especially if you get
mm.
those paper screen protectors. Then it really simulates the friction you get when you run your pencil across the page. So
Yeah.
if you want to get into digital art, I would suggest getting an iPad and an Apple Pencil and starting there.
Mm, mm.
But yeah,
Okay. Saad Qureshi asks, is this an interview for Spider-Man No Way Home?
yes, it is. I my inbox is flooded with the Spider-Man comments, and people edit these photos and send them to me as well. And I'm always like, why do you have the time to do this and send it to me? But I am very grateful, and I love it because
Yeah.
Spider-Man is my favorite superhero, and
Yeah.
I I grew up loving Spider-Man. I read well, no one can say they've read all the comics. I've read majority of the comics. I've followed everything, and
Mm.
just to be associated with the character, even if it's because people think I look like the actor, I just get happy that my name is in the same sentence as Spider-Man's. It's nice.
Okay. So Sh- Shojan Ali asks, would you like to give a message to teens about something such as choice of career?
I think the
Mm,
most important thing is to enjoy what you do, because that'll make your career much easier because you're enjoying the
mm.
work that you're doing. If it's a pain every day and you just can't wait to get home,
Yeah.
or you can't wait for the weekend to come, then you're going to be miserable. So find something you enjoy, or find
Right.
enjoyment in the work that you are doing. For me, I know that if I did anything else, I would be absolutely miserable. Like, I need to enjoy the work that I do in order to excel. So my advice
Mm.
would just be find what you enjoy and then try to pursue
Yeah.
it. And if it's out of the realms of possibility, then
Mm.
try to find the next best thing. Just don't do something you don't like because you're going to hate it forever. And I've seen lots of people who are just miserable, and they just can't wait for the weekend, and they can't wait to come home because their jobs are just sucking the life out of them. And
Yeah. Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
also, if when you ask me one of my biggest fears, that is also one of my biggest fears.
Okay. Doing something you don't enjoy.
Hmm.
Well, there are a couple more. Two of them, which I will read out collectively, are related to the thing before. Harvey says, "Why is Andrew Garfield here?" And another person, oh my God, there was another Andrew Garfield one. Let me find that. Wait. I can't find it. Yeah, Hassan says, "Assalamu alaikum, brown Andrew Garfield."
Walaikum assalam.
Okay. So Hax Lel has an interesting question. They ask, wait, sorry, yeah. Does descent to the ocean floor have something to do with your fear of open waters?
Yeah, that piece was written to, I just translated how haunting it feels for me to be in that situation into music. So yeah, that
Wow,
is
really?
exactly what it is. And it's that slow descent, knowing you can't do anything. And
Yeah.
I don't want to say drown, but that feeling before drowning, like what would it sound like? That's what it would
Oh
sound
my
like in my
God.
head. So I wrote a piece about it.
Oh, that's a great question then. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Okay. Uh, Nermeen Malani asks, when is the Glassworker releasing?
The Glassworker is going, so 20, just so I can put this information out there, COVID really uh, messed up a lot of things regarding our scheduling. We were supposed to finish right now. So we're still
Okay.
scrambling to try and get this thing done. We're not too far away, but still far away. That's all I can say right now. I won't give a date. I won't give a month or a
Mm,
year or anything like that. But just know that if COVID didn't happen, we would have been finished by now.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's Draw asks, will your film include okay, I'm sorry if I butcher any pronunciations, the Ma emptiness like Hayao Miyazaki? I don't know what that
Yes.
means, but you probably
It
do.
means so it's the Ghibli films are famous for having very specific character. I'm forgetting the word. Self-reflection moments where there's just nothing happening, but the beauty of
Right.
the scenery, the characters maybe just looking out at the vistas, or just a moment with them with silence, uh, and just so you can resonate and empathize with the character, but also see um, their own self-reflection. Ghibli does that a lot. So the ma that he's referring to, the spaces in between, the silence, yeah, we will have a few moments like that, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. Um, Fatma Qureshi asks, what would you suggest to someone who's not comfortable sharing their art online?
Um, see, make a burner account and post it there, I guess. Because my philosophy, which again, nobody has to agree with it. The way I think is if a tree falls in a forest and no one's around, did it really fall? That like you've made your
Mhm.
art, but no one's seeing it. So you're doing it to
Yeah.
make yourself happy. But I think that's the lie artists tell themselves because everyone is trying to just connect with other people. And some
Hmm.
people do it through other means, artists do it through their art. So share it with people. And if you're afraid
Right.
that people are going to say that things look wrong in it, chances are they are wrong. So that is stuff you need to work
Mm.
on and improve. If the
Okay.
anatomy is off in a particular illustration you've made, etc., you have to just post it and see what people say. Take some of the criticism, put the other aside, and keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
Good advice. Okay. Niken Resti, I hope I'm pronouncing this correct, asks, what do you think about 2D versus 3D animation?
2D animation is what I love. 3D animation is what the industry has moved towards. Both are amazing. They're just different forms of expression. Ultimately, the story
Right.
is what counts. So if the story is good, whether it's a 2D animated film or TV show, or whether it's a 3D animated film or TV show, as long as the story is good, that's what matters. My preferred medium of telling my story, or our story from Mono Animation Studios, is hand-drawn animation. But I don't think any less or any more of 3D compared to 2D. They're both and different forms of expression to tell stories.
Right, right. Okay, so Laib Nadeem has 3 questions. I can read all of them out and you can give like a collective answer.
Sure.
The person says, how to train yourself to let go of everything, especially the people you love, to pursue your passion. Then how to stay motivated when the inspo burns out. And link to or release a tutorial for how to set up hand-drawn animation, please, and what software do you use? Oh, that's a question. What software do you use? Yeah. Is that good response, or should I read them out again?
No, I'm good. I remember them. The first question, you don't have to give up the people you love to pursue what you want to do. I haven't given up my family. No, I meant that you give up the, you have to live a certain lifestyle to pursue excellence. That's it. And if you're willing to give up the minor things, like maybe going out every other night, maybe wasting your time on the internet forums, chatting with people, all of the stuff that you do to interact with people on a regular basis. That's what I was talking about. Again, from my personal experience, this is what I've done and the people who I've looked up to have done. So I'm just emulating them.
Right.
That's the only thing you have to really give up. You have to dedicate more of your time to your craft. And the only way you can do that is by getting rid of certain things that fill up your day. That is
Right.
all. You don't have to give up anything else, like live in a cave and just draw or write music. No. Although some people have done that too. But what I'm saying is just carve out time for it. Time that you would normally spend doing something else.
Yeah.
The next question was, what was the next question? I remember the last one.
The link to release a tutorial for hand-drawn animation, and what software do you use?
So we use a combination of Photoshop and TV Paint and Toon Boom and Harmony, all animation softwares, especially TV Paint. A link to how to use it. When I have more time, sure, I would love to do video tutorials. I was actually selected to do a class for this forum called Class 101, and I was very excited to do that. But when I found out how many hours of content I would have to make, I told them I can't do it. I just don't have that much time. So yeah, one day I would love to, but right now I can't.
And Wasim also asks, someone asked that, is it too late for a 40-year-old to pursue their career in music?
I know exactly who asked that. It is not too late at all. It depends on the passion and work you put into it. The only thing I will say is it will be more difficult, because when you're a child, you're not thinking about anything. You're new to the world. Everything you're experiencing, like majority of those things are what you're experiencing for the first time. So when you pick up an instrument, you have no idea what the other greats of that instrument have done. You've just heard it and they're just sounds to you. So when you approach your when you approach your lessons, say if you're learning, you attack it in a way that you wouldn't be able to if you're an adult, because you have so many other things on your mind. That's why I'm very, very grateful I got to do these things when I was young. It's harder when you're an adult, but if you can tap into that same childlike mentality and just ignore the world around you, you'll be fine.
Right. Usman K. asks, three principles of animation which you think are on top of all other principles.
I'll talk about the things I look at. I look at obviously the principles that are there, the fundamentals like squash and stretch, etc., anticipation. What I really look at is the timing and the spacing of the drawings, because that's where the animation is, in how you treat the movement and how it's timed in relation to the spacing of the drawings. For me, that's very, very important. And then your fundamentals come in the middle, but if it's spaced nicely and if the timing is nice, the shot is going to look good. So that's what I look at all the time. And then the intent of the character, drawing the expressions, drawing the transitions between the expressions. Those things are what I look at in my work and the work we have in the studio. And the fundamentals, obviously, we consistently look at, but I'm more interested in getting the intent of the shot into the shot as opposed to making it technically sound and efficient, which it still is, but that's not my first priority. Once the acting beats and everything's in there, then we can come in and technically spruce it up.
Nermeen Mulani asks, I love your style of animation, but don't you think your characters look more Japanese than brown, considering that they're speaking in Urdu and you're representing a brown culture?
So here's the thing that I want to set straight. The Glassworker initially started as Shishagar, which the idea was that we'll take white people और हम उन सफेद लोगों से उर्दू बुलवाएंगे. That was the idea, which was just a small 70-minute film about glass blowing, but twisting the dynamic that, films like Aladdin, films like Mulan, where it's set in rural China, but she has an American accent. और मतलब Agrabah में जो Aladdin है, वो भी एक American accent से बात कर रहा है. The idea was कि हम गोरे characters को लेके उनसे उर्दू बुलवाएंगे, and that would be very interesting. That was the idea. That then when Jeffrey Wexler got involved, he said, this is a great idea. Now, what are you going to do when I dub it in English? And I said, oh, I didn't think about that. He said, yeah, so change a few things here and there, make it more universal. One day we will do a heavily culturally influenced film from Pakistan. Right now, this is not just a Pakistani film. There's so many other international collaborators on board, and the script was written with them. We are making the animation to an international story. We're contributing to it. There are hints of Pakistani culture and stuff in there that you'll see in the film, but it's not Pakistani in its location. That it's not. Mishmash of different cultures. There are characters like Nadia in it, and then there are characters like Vincent in it. There are characters like Malik in it, and then there are characters like Penny in it, which you will find out later. But I think once people see what it is, because we haven't even released a trailer yet, they'll know what we're trying to achieve.
Okay, and Fool Floof asks, are the environments in the Glassworker based off or set in real-life places from Pakistan?
They're inspired by places from Pakistan. Again, I can't talk too much about it yet, but if you're from Pakistan, you'll know exactly what architecture is, what space in the film.
Awesome.
One thing I can say is Empress Market is inspired one big location in our film. So you'll see. But then again, that's colonial architecture. So what is Pakistani architecture really when this is all remnants of the British that were here? So there are also heavily Desi buildings as well that I can't talk about again, but you'll see those that are our architecture.
Okay. And also, I think this kind of also answers this question, which says, your animation is heavily anime inspired. What's unique to it, which makes it Pakistan's original? And art side of Ayush has asked this question. So
I love the Studio Ghibli style of animation. I love the Japanese style of animation. So I want to take that and contribute to that world of animation. And for our first film, it will be heavily anime inspired, of course. But Ghibli is an anime. And the fun fact, they hate being associated with anime. One of our
really?
producers, again, I'm not going to take names, but he he went into one of the when we were traveling for work, he went into one of the video stores, uh, and he took the Ghibli films out of the anime section and put them in the international section. And then the people came and said, "Why are you doing that?" He said, "These are my films. I don't want them here." So they don't like that. So the Ghibli
Wow.
anime is its own thing now, and it's become its own uh, genre of animation because there's certain things in anime that don't happen in Ghibli films. So my animation is heavily inspired by Studio Ghibli and uh, the older films of Walt Disney. Like there's a lot of
Oh,
hints of that in the backgrounds we're painting and everything as well. So that's where the aesthetic will come from. What sets it apart as being Pakistani is that it was made in Pakistan.
right. That makes sense. Snail Mail asks, what do you think of Satoshi? I don't know how to pronounce this. Satoshi Kon?
Satoshi Kon.
Sorry. Yeah.
So another fun fact, Satoshi Kon's associate producer, Taro Morishima, who I've been fortunate enough to meet, is the one who took me around Japan in 2017, meeting all of these studios.
Ah,
I'm a
amazing.
huge fan of Satoshi Kon's work. I love Paprika. I love Perfect Blue, Millennium Actress, all of those films. I mean, every anime fan in Pakistan has seen those, of course. But I think they're great, and I love his work.
Awesome. Also, I saw in the comments, because basically I'm reading questions out from the question box,
Yeah.
guys, not from the comments. But someone was repeatedly asking if you're Zia Muhyiddin's relative. So can you
Yes, I
clarify
am.
that?
I am. I
Okay.
am Zia Muhyiddin's
Awesome.
sister's grandson.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. What else? So there are lots of questions that keep coming in. Okay, Naseem Akhtar says, but should you focus more on your culture, like how the Ghibli films are so heavily inspired by their culture?
See,
It's in
everyone
response
says
to,
that, but they're really not.
yeah.
The first film Miyazaki made was a film called Nausicaä before he made Castle of Cagliostro, which is Lupin the Third, which is not Japanese at all again. And before that, he made something called Heidi with Isao Takahata. He made Panda Go Panda, which is not from anywhere. He made Anne of Green Gables as well. Now, where's the
Oh.
Japan in that? And then after all of this, after Nausicaä, he made a film called Laputa, again not Japanese at all. And then he made a film called Totoro, which had those Japanese elements in it because it was a film set in rural Japan. After Totoro, he made Kiki's Delivery Service, again, not in Japan. Then he made Porco Rosso, again, not in Japan because it's about the Crimson Pig. He's a pig that flies around in the Adriatic and gets into fights. And that's a horrible synopsis for the film. It's much more amazing than that. After Porco Rosso, he made Princess Mononoke, again, one film set in rural Japan. Then he made Spirited Away, the next film in Japan. Then he made Howl's Moving Castle, which is not Japanese at all. Then he made The Wind Rises. I think I just went through his entire film catalog, and there are only 3 films that are from Japan. Ghibli likes taking, and Japan in general likes taking English literature and translating it into their animation. Isao Takahata makes much more Japanese films than Hayao Miyazaki does. And even Hiromasa Yonebayashi, he made When Marnie Was There. Before When Marnie Was There, he made, I don't remember the film it was he made before that, but he made Mary and the Witch's Flower. after that. So two films that aren't Japanese. Goro Miyazaki made Tales from Earthsea, which is a film his father wanted to make, but he made it, which is again the complete Middle Eastern, some not really anywhere sort of a story, fantastical location. And then he made From Up on Poppy Hill. And again, now he made Earwig and the Witch. Again, another English literature book that translated into their Japanese animation aesthetic. But I just gone through their entire catalog and just talked about everything that they've done. So they don't really make Japan-centric things. So we, like I said, one day we will make a heavily culturally Pakistan-based film. But right now, because of all the international collaborators and everything else everybody else that's on board, this is a story that will allow us to work with everybody, make a film that they're more used to making, and then one day, inshallah, if this is successful, get to make more, and then we will dive into Pakistan. Trust me, I want to do that. This is there's a reason behind all of these decisions.
Right, of course.
Sorry, I'm
let's
not
take
very
the final
passionate
question
about that answer, but it's just it bothers me so much that people throw Ghibli at me, and trust me, I again not trying to sound arrogant at all, but very few people are as obsessed with that studio as I am, and you can't throw that answer at that question at me with those sorts of connotations in it, because you don't know what you're saying.
Yeah. And Usman, let's go for the final question for today, which is, do you ever think about music and what would have been if you hadn't quit?
I think about it all the time. I really do, because I do miss it. I really do, but I don't want to be 60 years old and playing music on stage, knowing that I can't do the things I used to do. That's one thing that scared me then, where the dexterity, everything. I mean, everybody grows old. I know people joke that I'm not looking any different than when I did then, but I know that I will grow old, and the dexterity will be gone, and the amount of practice that I'll have to do to maintain that is not worth it. And yes, I could have gone into just writing music, but I enjoyed that athletic side of music, and I didn't want to go down that path. But what I can see myself doing, inshallah, for a long time is drawing and animation, because there are no restrictions there except your own imagination. You can make the same things and maybe even make them better when you're 60 than when you were 25. So art and animation has much more longevity in it, and that is exciting.
Right. Awesome, Usman. We have had a great amount of engagement today, and I don't think I've ever received so many questions in any of the other live sessions. Thank you for answering all of them so patiently. You've answered, I don't know, close to 100 questions or something today, I'm pretty sure. So it's been a pleasure having you. No, it's been a pleasure having you, because I was also, for such a long time, I've been so intrigued. I personally wanted to know all of this. And, you know, once I started these sessions, I knew I really wanted to bring you on board and ask you. You know, there was so much to ask and so much to sort of learn from you. Thank you so much. And it's been an honor. I will be then saving this live session. It's going to be on Instagram, and it's also going to be on YouTube. And I will share the links with you. And for everyone who's watching, they can follow my Instagram and YouTube, which I'll post the links. Thank you, Usman. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. And we're excitedly waiting for the Glassworker.
Thank you very much, and I wanted to thank you. It was an absolute pleasure as well, and the questions were very engaging and thought-provoking, and I had a lot of fun, which I don't usually have in interviews. So thank you. This was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's amazing. That's lovely to hear, Usman. Take good care of yourself. We'll be seeing more of you, and I, as everyone else, I'm looking forward to your Instagram stories.
Thank you.
Always excited to have that little notification on my Instagram.
I'm honored.
And,
Thank
and
you
of
very
course
much.
for the Glassworker. Oh, Zara's there. Hello, Zara.
Hi, Zara.
And thank you to everybody who was who joined in and for the very engaging questions. And take care, Usman. And hi, Zural. I'm so glad so many Indus people are here. So yes, I will be sharing the link with you. Take good care, Usman, and Khuda Hafiz. See you
Thank you.
soon.
You too.
Hopefully.
Allah Hafiz.
Bye. Bye. Bye.